I'd like to thank each of you all for coming and participating in this council. I know it was a last minute invitation. A number of the individuals that we invited may still be en route, but I want to go ahead and get things started and be appreciative of your time. Before we get started, I'd like to have our Major Belcher lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone would stand.
We're going to place our right hand on our heart, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you all for coming. Panel members, and I'll introduce you each individually before we get started. But I wanted to go through a few rules of engagement for this evening. Each of the panel members should have a short agenda with the rules of engagement in the packets that are in front of you. Very quickly, the purpose of this City Managers Community Council is to serve as a conduit of official information and ideas between the city administration, and the community. The goal is to enhance our police department's community relations and policies with valuable public input. One of the ideals for today's discussion is something I learned in a lot of my leadership training, which is this concept of sacred space. Tonight, we're providing a requested platform, if you will, for community input. And I want to have some free exchange, but I want us to also be respectful of each other and understand that at the end of the day, for me, we're all here for the same goal, which is to push the city forward after this incident. Public comment from the audience and questions will not be taken tonight. There was a town hall meeting last night, but as members of the public are encouraged to send emails to our comments at northmiamifl.gov email address. And we also have a hotline, which is, again, 305-902-6745. We are monitoring all of those calls, looking at all the emails, and actually pushing those out to the public as we get them. So all of that information is being seen and viewed by myself and my staff. I'll ask that we all give feedback, and I think the format we'll lay out will provide for that. I don't want the conversation dominated by any one party, but just so we can be respectful of each other in time. And let's remain open-minded for this evening's conversation. I think not just here, but across the country, our country is hurting, communities are hurting, and we want to make sure we do the right thing here in our example, in our situation, and show the rest of the country how this can be done. So with that, I'd like to introduce each of the panel members that have arrived. Again, starting with myself, Larry Springs, City Manager for the City of North Miami. I have with me our Police Chief, Gary Eugene, City Attorney, Jeff Cazot, our Major, Timothy Belcher, one of our councilmen, Scott Galvin. On the panel, we have Reverend Timothy Forbes, Reverend Nathaniel Wilcox, Stephen Johnson, Pastor Polance Fritzman. Sorry for the pronunciations. Jean-Robert Lafortune, Leroy Jones, Juan de la Paz, and Greg Lean. I thought you were calling in.
I decided to come.
I appreciate that very much. The individuals here represent, and I'll quickly go, the Holy Family Catholic Church, 100 Black Men of South Florida, Circle of Brotherhood, Haitian Advocacy Coalition, community activists from Coral Gables and city attorney, but I think you're in your private capacity today.
Well, actually, I am the city attorney of Coral Gables, and I have represented police departments and police officers for many years, but I'm also on the board, constituency board for UMNSU CARD, which is the Center for Autism-Related Disabilities, and I have 2 children with autism.
The Autism Speaks organization and Pulse. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Eugene. He's going to give a brief update on where we are with the FPLD investigation.
I made a promise to all of you that I will keep you informed the best I can and to the best of my knowledge. I'm in constant contact with FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who is conducting the investigation as we speak. Our last conversation, they have made it clear they will try their best to release the first update about the investigation either by this Friday or first at the beginning of next week. At this time, our PIO will get in touch with you and to ensure that you are informed and you are brought up to par as the investigation is moving along. Unfortunately, at this time, I will not elaborate too much on the actual investigation, except to tell you, as we speak, not only FDLE, but the State Attorney's Office also, they are intended progressing by conducting the investigation simultaneously. Having said that, in light of what transpired last Monday, I've handpicked and selected what I will consider our new ambassador, not only to you here, but to the entire community at large. I hand-selected Major Belcher to be the point of contact to all of you, and he will go over what we have already implemented and what we'll be implementing within the next 90 days. Again, to echo what the city manager said, thank you for coming. I hope we can come and get out of something from tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. One thing I'll add on the, with regards to the investigation, we did get word from the FDLE that they expect to have a final report within the next 45 to 60 days. So I know time is important to everybody, so I want to make sure that it is moving along. Next, I'd like to pass the mic over, the presentation to Major Belcher. Major Belcher will be presenting a number of the initiatives that, unfortunately, the chief had already started to implement some of them, but some that we think are important in light of this incident. What I'm going to ask the panel to do is take notes as he goes through each of the various initiatives, and after he's completed, we will give each member 3 to 4 minutes to give us remarks, feedback on that, and if we need to expand that a little bit, we'll be mindful, but I'm trying to keep to the time that we committed to. So with that, Major Belcher.
Good evening. Again, my name is Major Belcher, Tim Belcher. I've been with the police department for 23 years and had the opportunity to serve in many different units. One to be a school resource officer. I was one of the founders of our PAL program, Police Athletic League, and I'm currently now a member of the South Florida chapter of NOBLE, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. I'm the vice president for the Dade County sector, and I'm also a member of the 5,000 Role Models program, which is led by Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. Besides that program, I'm part of many other organizations that deal with community events and going out, just helping out the community, making sure our kids, our young males and young girls are getting the things that they need to get as far as moving ahead in life and being successful. So I'm part of many of those programs. I've been with this department 23 years, like I said, and I can also tell you that the officers here at this department love their community, and if we don't tell them enough in roll call, I don't know where else they're going to get it from. So I know in light of the situation that we have, That's nowhere near what our members of our police department. That's nowhere near the way they act, the type of attitudes that they have. So I just want you to be and understand to be respectful towards, and tell your friends to be respectful also towards the officers, because they're being told this is the mending time for us now as police and community. It's time for us to mend this, to bring everybody together and start fixing this, what is broken. Thank God we didn't have any deadly situation, but we did have a situation, and we just have to look at that situation. So with that being said, just to talk about a few of the things that we have in place and are putting in place and that we already have. As far as our goals, to be transparent. That's number one. We want to make sure that we share information and being transparent with each community member and young adult out in the street or out in the community, whether you're in business or residence. Also, we want to restore the trust with the community and outside organizations. And we have a few outside organizations here now. Some we've just met, some I've had meetings with also, and spoke with, because these are some of the things that we were looking to do anyway, is to join forces in partnership with outside organizations, the parishioners, because just like I told them, our officers inside need to hear the outside voices, because sometimes they get tired of hearing our voices as law enforcement leaders. So they need to hear the outside voices from the parishioners and from the outside groups, organizations who knows what's going on in the different communities around our city that we don't know and how to deal with certain situations. Also partnership with, make sure those organizations are positive organizations. Now we have many different organizations out there, but a lot of them are not positive. A lot of them are out there ranting and raving. A lot of them are out there up to no good, but we do have a lot of positive organizations that we can partner up with and that we need to partner up with. Educate and continue to train our law enforcement officers. Educate and continue to train, not educate one time. That is not what we are about. We continue to push out education. We continue to train officers in different areas within the police department. Things that they're going to need to be able to deal with incidents on the street, to deal with individuals, the type of individuals, whether they have mental illnesses or autism. And we will be putting things in place for that amongst our whole department. Customer service is a big one. When our officers go out to meet individuals, we tell them to be patient. Pretend they're in your, that officer's in the other person's shoes. Be patient with that individual and listen to the problem, because what we're out there for is to solve people's issues. To solve their issues, if we need to show some kind of sensitivity towards the issues, we need to do that also. But it's very important that we provide customer service. And that's one of the trainings that we have been implementing within the city of North Miami and the police department. Bias-based policing is always taught in the police department in our in-service training. You know, to teach the officers how to approach and how to deal with people of different ethnic groups, and not to press upon certain ethnic groups, but to be fair to each and everyone that's out there, whether it be on a traffic stop or responding to a call. 21st century policing to include the 6 pillars. This is a program that the President Obama has put in place. Building trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, technology and social media, community policing and crime prevention, training and education, officer wellness and safety. All those different topics are very important, especially in the law enforcement field, and also dealing with the community. So what we're looking to propose is the implementation of a 90-day plan, which it has already been going on already. We've been doing some of these things, and I'm going to name a few other things, additional things that we will be implementing also. We are also moving forward toward educating our officers about autism. We just had an incident with an individual who has autism. It's very important that we educate our officers for the simple fact, so when they respond to situations, whether it's like the past situation or not, we need to understand what that individual is going through, what we need to deal with, and how we need to speak to that person when we get there. One thing I learned in the academy, they taught us about dealing with people with mental illnesses, how to approach them, how to talk to them. And some people think you can just approach a person with mental illness aggressively. And that's the first thing on the book is a no. You don't approach them aggressively. You need to approach them with respect and have an understanding of their illnesses. Be able to speak with them. Know what to do when you get to that person, and not look forward to always taking the person to jail or arresting the person, but try to get the person some help if you see that individual has a problem. As far as autism awareness and first responder, we are now in motion to have a class for our entire department on autism, and we'll be starting that in August. As far as, and it's a two-part to it, where we'll be seeing videos on these individuals, their illness, their symptoms, their disability, to see what they're going through, so we have an understanding at first hand. But then we would include another training for 4-hour training, which we will end up including the entire department to go through this training, so they can also have an idea of what these individuals are going through, so they can know how to approach and have an understanding of how to talk to them when they approach them. Crisis intervention. A few of our officers are now certified in crisis intervention, and we have a few more that's going to be in a training course this month, in August. It's going to be taking on certification for that also. This is a very important one also. Now, we had classes with crisis intervention at one of the locations where they explained, and we also had some of those with the illnesses in there, explaining to us how the officers need to approach them, some of the encounters they had in the past and stuff. So we want to make sure our officers get this training so they can approach and deal with people properly.
Just so the panel and the audience understands, crisis intervention is a training program that was developed in a number of states, in a number of U.S. states, to help police officers react appropriately to situations involving mentally ill and developmentally disabled individuals. So I just want you to have an understanding of what the crisis intervention team training is, the basis of it is.
And like I said before, crisis intervention has been within our agency for a while now. When Chief Eugene was assistant chief, he recognized the fact that this was something that we needed in dealing with people out in the community. We have a lot of people in our community, a lot of organizations, a lot of locations that has people with mental illnesses and stuff, and it's very important that we know how to deal with them and how to approach them. Police Executive Research Forum, PERF, is another organization which is something that deals with, policies and procedures, helping you out as far as calming situations down, how to de-escalate, things of that nature. Independent research organization that focuses on critical issues in policing. It also identifies best practices on fundamental issues by reducing police use of force, developing community policing and problem-oriented policing, using technologies to deliver police services to the community, and also evaluate crime reduction strategies. Those things are very important. Now, PERF has 30 guiding principles, which are very important. I just want to read a couple of them off to you. And one of the first ones are the sanctity of human life should be at the heart of every thing an agency does. Also, the duty to intervene. Officers need to prevent other officers from using excessive force and not just stand around and do nothing. So those things are very important. Respect the sanctity of life by promptly rendering first aid. If you have an individual out there that's injured, you should render first aid right off the bat before you decide to rush to take the person to jail. But you want to make sure that you're there to help save the person's life also. Document use of force incidents and review data and enforcement practices to ensure that they are fair and non-discriminatory. De-escalation should be a core theme of any agency's training program. We teach that as far as de-escalating. But like I said, the training must be continuous. We can't do it once and then we take a break. We must put in the minds of our personnel, our officers, not just in our department, but around the county, that you need to know how to de-escalate when the time comes. So no one will get injured. We have any major incidents or issues when we're dealing with individuals. Mental illness. Implement a comprehensive agency training program on dealing with people with mental health issues. We are sending officers to this crisis intervention. We are giving officers the opportunity to go to training for autism awareness. And we also have an individual people to come in to speak with them on these two topics, which are very important. Well-trained call takers and dispatchers are essential to police response and critical incidents. That's dealing with our dispatchers. when we get calls into the station, these dispatchers need to know how to deal with these individuals and understand what they have, so they can advise the officers on the street what they're responding to. And they must have the exact and proper information when they have somebody responding to these calls. Just moving down to the accreditation part. And during our past administration, we held the status accreditation with CFA, which is Commission Florida Accreditation, which is only recognized in the state of Florida. Well, with the blessing of the chief and the city manager, we are looking to move towards the Commission of Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which is CALEA. This is a larger accreditation. They have more standards, and they're also nationally known. So that is very important and something we're looking forward to move towards. And what are the big items? Body-worn cameras and dash cameras. With the approval of the chief and the city manager, our liaison has been attending demonstrations and conferences in order to prepare the implementation of the body-worn camera system for our department. Now, as of last Monday, our liaison attended the last demonstration presented by Miami-Dade County Police Department, who has implemented the body-worn camera system within their agency. The chief has given the okay to move forward with the implementing of the program. It is our intent to have the system in place by March 31st, 2017. As I move down, we're going to talk about, we will also be implementing the Mayor's Police and Community Relations Initiative. And that's about reaching out to the community. The police officers reaching out to the community instead of the community reaching out to us. Some of the things that we're doing already or have done in the past. We have done walk-in talks to businesses and residents with the mayor and council, and also police officers from different units. We also have done it with parishioners. Some of our chaplains have also taken that walk with us to meet and greet those who are out there in our community who have questions, have concerns, and we have all the appropriate unit members as far as cops, our community-oriented policing unit, our code enforcement unit. If there's issues, all these issues get written down and they get fixed or they get taken care of after the person has made the concern complaint. Things we're currently doing, police and youth sporting events. Every summer for the past 4 years, we've been attending a lot of the summer camps where we have different type of sporting events at each one of those camps, whether it be basketball, kickball, soccer, just giving the kids the opportunity to have some intellect with the police officers, to understand that we're human. And I know a lot of people look at us in uniform and they look at us as robots, machines, this, that, and the other. They don't see us as humans sometimes. So we have to show them that we are human, that we are willing to talk to them, laugh with them, and have fun just like they do, just like their parents do with them. So it's very important that we do get out there and spend the time with these kids and let them know that we are human and we are ready to sit down, talk with them. We do a little read to kids programs when we go out to the schools on career days, and we sit in the classroom and read books to the young kids in elementary school. Those things are very important because that kid may one day want to be a police officer, just like I did when I was a young man. The chief had updated also the allegation of employee misconduct form. Before we had the form that we was giving out where you had to put your name and telephone number just to identify yourself. But now it's optional now, to where if you have a complaint, it's optional if whether you want to reveal yourself, your identification or not. So we're not pressing you for that. If you have a complaint, you come in and make your complaint. We have the forms available. And also, if you need one to see one tonight, we do have a few copies right here tonight also. And that's all I have so far. If there are any questions.
So just to kind of summarize what you've heard, the chief, with my full blessing and direction, and actually before I go on, I want to announce Marlene Bastien joining us. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. And read the book. Goodwin, also again, thank you for joining us this evening. We've gone through about 5 specific points. One, autism training we've contacted a department at the recommendation of some of the staff and our consultants that have been helping us through this process, and that training has been set up and will be initiated and completed over the next month. Crisis intervention team training, which has been done with some of the offers, but we want to refresh and make sure that all of the entire department gets that training and has the understanding. The PERF standards, again, I know some of the community organizations have already been asking many of the departments to move to those standards. So we're going to take the initiative and make it happen now. The police accreditation, which I know has been an issue. So instead of hiding behind it, we're going to face it, deal with it face on. I've been the city manager for all of 90 days, and the police chief has been here for all of 2 weeks. And we had this opportunity to show leadership, so we're going to do it and make things right. And we're not only going to stay at the state standard, but we're going to go harder and go with the CLIA standard, which is a nationally recognized standard. Body cameras and dash cameras is something that I am vehemently supportive of. Unfortunately, the chief and I talked about this, and I made it very clear. I will not leave my post as city manager until they're done, they're implemented. And there's no reason for them not to be. The biggest agency in the county has them, why shouldn't we? So we're gonna make that happen. And then the mayor's police community relations, about humanizing our department. I know we have our own PAL. A lot of the officers are active with that organization, but all of the officers you have to be human. They're human. They have families, they have children, they have wives, they have brothers, just like we are. And we need to make sure they understand that behind the blue uniform is a person. And likewise with the community, just, what you physically look like, what, you have a developmental disability, you have a mental illness, it doesn't matter. Everyone is human and needs to be treated with respect. So making sure we all understand that clarity. And more importantly for me, working with the community more, getting out, having this council convene, listening to what you're saying, and not just listening, being accountable. That's why I've asked the chief to actually give, after we hear feedback, we'll be putting something out with hard dates on when these things will be started. These initiatives will be started and completed. And I'm gonna ask that this council hold us accountable. So with that, what I wanna do is actually go around the room. I think I'll go one side, the next side. Ladies first, if you don't mind, Ms. Bastien. The format was, and I know you got here a moment after we started, but we're gonna open it up to each individual to give comment on some of the things we talked about and kind of give us some feedback so that we can take notes and maybe enhance our plan. So with that, I'll open the mic to you. Yes, and if you could identify yourself and the organization. Hold on one second.
It doesn't seem like it can go any further, right?
No,
Okay.
just lift up
All right.
the corner.
Okay, sorry about that. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize for being late. I was coming from work. And second, I'd like to thank you, city manager, and the entire team for inviting me to come on board. I was actually out of the country when this incident happened. And so I'm still learning, trying to find out more about exactly what occurred. So I heard part of the presentation, but before I make a few comments, I hope that I can make more later, since I came late and I probably missed some information. I do believe that this council should be more balanced. We should have a more balanced council. I think it's a great start, but I think that we need to have more female on the council. Women make up over 50% of the population, and this issue that we are discussing is of utmost importance, and it is extremely vital that we have more voices, more diverse voices involved in this. Because I know that, Mr. Manager, since you organized this council so promptly, and I really commend you for that. I know that you also want some results. You really want to hear our voices, our collective voices, and I do believe that we need to add more diversity on the panel. I hope you take that into consideration. Second, I listened to the presentation and some of the changes that North Miami Police Department wants to undertake. I think it is great. I think it is great because we are experiencing a great crisis in this country where people are scared. People are scared, especially folks like me who have sons, black sons, growing up in different communities around the nation and watching what has been going on. They are scared, and for good reasons. And many of them are talking to their sons, wondering, should I let my son out? What should we do? People are greatly concerned. So the main comment I'd like the main thing I'd like to say is that, yes, training is important. Yes, crisis counseling, crisis intervention is important. Yes, understanding police work is important. Understanding that police officers are human beings like us, or they're, for the most part, they are doing their jobs. Yes, that is important. Yes, it is important to implement youth programs, make sure that little children or little boys and girls can aspire to become good police officers, hopefully good police officers. But until we address the issue of impunity, I don't care how many good programs that you implement, until you address this issue of impunity, I don't think you're going to go far. There has to be a revision of police training, which I realize that you understand, and I know I've been reading more additional proposals from what you submitted today around the nation, where solutions that people are bringing forth to really allay people's fear and then really solve this problem. But I think besides the training, we really need to take a serious look at impunity. Because to some folks, it seems as if all police officers have to say when something like that happens is to say, oh, I felt that my life was in danger, or I felt so-and-so was reaching for a gun. Until we can address the issue of impunity, no matter how many programs you implement, I think you're going to go so far. Because no seeds of justice can really grow in the land of impunity. So I commend you for all these measures, all this training that you're bringing forth. I think they are great, but I think we need to take a serious look at the training. We need to take a serious look at the impunity. And lastly, I was going to forget about that. It is of utmost importance, and I'm going to end on that note to let other people to react. And like I said, I may have more to say later. Whatever plan we implement cannot be implemented in a vacuum. It has to be part of not only a South Florida plan, and I'll go even further, of a national plan. But let's start with South Florida. Let's say that there is an event. There is a crisis, there is a shooting, and then there are multiple forces involved, Mr. City Manager. Even though North Miami may do everything right, but we cannot control what other forces that are involved will do. So that is why whatever plan that we work on, it has to fit into not only the statewide, but also into the national plan. because City of North Miami can do everything good, but if there are multiple agencies involved, you cannot control them. That's why these changes that we are talking about, that you've discussed, they have to be part of a national plan. These are my comments for now.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Pastor Christner to go next. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Campbell, who's just joining us today.
Good afternoon. My name is Father Fritz de Belons. I am the new administrator of Holy Family Catholic Church. I've just been there for the last 20 days. So therefore I'm new in the country because I was at St. Elizabeth of Hungary in Palm Beach, Broward County. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the council. I feel I'm blessed that I can be part of the community. So whatever that I can do in order to help, I will say yes. The first question that I will have, probably Mr. City Manager can answer it for me. Will the council be a short-term or long-term council, permanent or temporary?
Right now, my thought was to have you convene for at least a year, and maybe go back to the council and actually do an actual ordinance or something that does a more official creation of it. This was something that I did because I spoke to Leroy and the Circle of Brotherhood, and I felt that I, city manager and the chief, we needed to hear from community concerns direct, outside of the political process, so that we can make good administrative policy decisions. So that's why. So it will be, I guess, long-term, if you will.
I hope that it will be, because if it's not, it will be like a patch that you put in a wound.
Right.
Because the problems will continue. I'm sure that it's not the first time, and it will not be the last time. Now, my comment will be like, all those programs that you put in place, I think they are great. But I wonder, in the continued study that you will have for the police, you have not said if you will have a psychological evaluation for the life of the police. Will you have that? It's to evaluate the psychological state of the police officers. I don't know if you will do that yearly or every 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, but I think that is very important.
I can't respond to that now. There's a bargaining and process involved in figuring out if we do that. So I'm listening to your comments, we're making the notes, and then we'll maybe respond more formally later.
I think I will come back later again.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Lean, if you would, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. So my name is Craig Lean. I'm the City Attorney of Coral Gables, and I previously was the Chief of the Federal Litigation Section for the Miami-Dade County Attorney's Office, where I represented the police department and police officers when they were sued in their individual capacity, a lot of times in civil rights cases. In addition, I'm a parent of 2 children with autism, and I'm on the Board of Constituents for the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. And I also want to say I was born in North Miami, even though I'm in Coral Gables now. I was born in North Miami, and my father went to high school here and lived here. So I care about this city. This was a very difficult thing for me to see, and it was heartbreaking in a way, because on the one hand, I have defended police officers, and I care about police officers, and I honor police officers and what they do for us. And it's a very difficult job, and it's very easy to second-guess police officers. And so I think, and it's also a very dangerous job at times. In addition, though, I'm also the parent of 2 children with autism, one who has severe autism, and one of whom could never express herself to a police officer at all. And frankly, would never listen to one either. She's a wonderful little girl. She's very happy, she laughs, she makes noises, she jumps up and down, she runs, and around. Frankly, we have to have a monitor on her ankle so that if she were to run away, that we could find her. And thankfully, that's never happened. But our worst nightmare is that she would be alone, and that she would go into someone's property or go into someone's house, and a police officer might come, and she would not respond or listen to anything that the police officer told her. And it's not because she doesn't respect authority, it's because she would not even know what the police officer was telling her. And she is an innocent. You know, she's a beautiful little girl who's very happy, but just she's in a different world half the time. So she wouldn't understand. And of course, my greatest fear would be that by not complying or by holding something in her hand, which could look like a weapon or could even be a weapon if she picked it up, she would have no idea what it was or how to use it or anything. She's an innocent, as I mentioned, and a very good person, a good girl. Anyhow, so what I would say is that the understanding of what autism is really key here. Because if you know what autism is, when you see an autistic child, you'll know. I remember when she was diagnosed by the neurologist, he could tell within literally 3 seconds that she had severe autism. And now when I see someone, I can generally tell when they have autism very quickly. And so, you know, being aware of autism and being trained will likely address this issue. If someone came up to my daughter and had been trained in the area of autism and understood what that was, they would know pretty quickly what was happening, and that this person wasn't a threat, that this person didn't even know necessarily what was happening. On the other hand, and the other point I wanted to make was, you know, it's very difficult, and I know that there is an ongoing investigation, and as a city attorney, I know what that means. Each individual who participates, a police officer who gets involved with something like this, it's very important not to second guess until the full investigation is done. And the reason why is because you never know what that officer knew when they were making their decision or what they heard. And I assume that no one, I just believe this in my heart, that no police officer would ever intentionally shoot at an autistic person. I mean, so I assume that. But what's important, though, I think, in these situations, and when I represented the county, is that the government entity do what they can to make it right, and to do all these things that you're doing to make it right, and make sure it doesn't happen again, and to show that you care. Adopt a resolution of inclusion for individuals with autism. Make sure to establish these training programs. Make sure that, you know, one thing I always told the county in these situations was, you know, sometimes the police, and I'm not talking about this particular situation now, sometimes a police officer will arrest someone and it will be a mistake, or they'll take some action and it'll be a mistake. And, you know, it's very sad that that happened to the person. I always recommend to the governmental entity, you try to make it right, try to make them whole. However, there may have been no violation of the Constitution because the officer, from the information they had probable cause. So these things are very difficult. I guess ultimately I've used my time. I just want to say that this is a very difficult issue. I think it's really great that you're having this community council. I look forward to participating in it. I do think that this sort of problem, as you mentioned, has to be done at the city level, and frankly it needs to be every city. And they need to adopt these policies and ensure that there's training done so that people know which individuals have autism and about autism and how to deal with mental illness. And if so, I think this issue can be largely addressed.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, if you would, please, sir. All right. I know you got in late now. Just very quickly, the city is going to be implementing a few initiatives, or rather, I should say, the police department through the chief. Immediate autism training, a refresh of our crisis intervention team training, which gets them sensitive to interacting with individuals with mental illness, adopting all of the PERF standards, which I know you are very familiar with, updating our police accreditation, not only the state one that we currently are in pursuit of, but actually stepping up and to the CALEA standard, which is a national standard. We will be implementing body cameras and dash cameras, And finally, the Mayor's Police Community Relations Initiative, which is more outreach, humanizing the officers, getting out in the community, walking and being present. There's another thing we don't have on this list, and it was probably the reason why I hired Chief Eugene. He knows about community policing. And that was the one thing that's not on this list I wanted him to do, and he's actually starting. So community policing, I'll add to that. So with that.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Luther Campbell. Have a program, Liberty City Optimist, on 50th, 12th Avenue. We're in 26th year. And just to piggyback on, one thing, I'm happy to be here, happy to share some of my opinions of some of the things that I see. And I think, just like I said to you guys, I think North Miami can be the leader in this whole issue of police versus people, what matters. I think it's sad that it happened, but it happened at a city that I think that you guys can show the rest of the world that North Miami will teach everybody else how to work and take this divide away. And I'm just happy to be a part of this right here. There's been so many things that have been happening in our community for so many years, back all the way to the McDuffie riots, all the way to right now, and guys getting shot off the motorcycles, getting killed, and we have a situation here in South Florida where the current state attorney has never convicted a police officer for shooting an African-American man on duty. So these things exist in this community, and unfortunately, when something like this happens, whether it's in North Miami or any other place in South Florida, those things are here that lives with us. So community obviously get outraged because we know from the level of the state attorney department, there's not going to be any justice. We just don't have any faith in that. So I'm just happy that the city itself is taking the approach of dealing with these issues from a city standpoint, because same thing goes with the FDLE. We have no faith in the FDLE because they too have not convicted anyone for killing an innocent black man in the state of Florida as well. So these two departments, in my opinion, does not support African Americans, but when a city like this can come together, bring people from all walks of life, to convene, to try and have conversation and dialogue to eliminate the problem, it is a great thing. And like I said, I'm happy to be here. I'm looking at some of the things that, that I'm involved with every day. I'm sorry that I'm late because I was at my park. We have a registration. We have over 500 kids, and we're getting physicals, and parents have questions. And those same parents are the ones, when you read in the newspaper, the King Carters of the world played at our park. And so we have to, we see these parents, we see the kids who are having kids, and we're dealing with these parents on a daily basis, whether it's North Miami or anywhere else. We've always had, our program has always had a great relationship with North Miami Park, the baseball program, one of the top baseball programs in the country. That program that you guys have right across the street from the graveyard. So we have that built-in relationship where we know all these people over there, so they're hurt in that matter of seeing the city of North Miami in this situation. The hurry up, because I know a lot of other people got to talk. Steve over here bumping me. But the outreach, I've always said, and going back to our program, when our program was great, it was the height of John Doe, Booby Boys, you name it, every game in South Florida. But one thing about it, the park was a safe haven. You had guys who were police that was coaching on the park. So it became a safe haven. So when we talk about community outreach, and I've always said, let's go back to that. You know, let's go back to, you know, if the officer is on the park where little King is playing football, then it is real fast for that officer would know, you know, he would want to have a relationship with the community, number one. Number two, he would automatically know who the criminal is, and if there is a situation with the dad or the mom or anybody else. And he would be able to solve a crime faster, and he would know who, you know, who's a real bad guy versus who is a good guy. So community policing is very, very, in my opinion, is very, very important. You know, I know we spoke to the chief, and the chief was like, you know, we got to get to the parks. I mean, those parks, North Miami and any other park around here, that's where the families are at. That's where the relationships are at. We can talk about a lot of these different things on here, implement them, but until you get to the people and have that relationship with those parents are going to tell you who the bad guy. They'll sit there and say, you know, Miss Jane and her son is a criminal, you know, because you got that relationship with those parents. And when you have that kind of relationship, it's for police to then take the gun and shoot at that guy, you know, and for, you know, the union to make stupid statements. That's very hard to happen, you know, because you have a relationship with them. You know, it's not even quick to arrest. Back then, it wasn't even quick to arrest because, you know, it's more like, hey, look, tell your son to get in, you know, he needs to be going to school. So it was a relationship. It was more like officer friendly, you know, that Steve used to have because he's an older guy. Officer friendly came to the school and you had a relationship with the officers. I think if we get back to that, then, you know, that'll end a whole lot of these problems and these disconnects, you know, that we're having and bridge these issues and these problems that we have, whether it's police and what life matter and all those different things. Let's get back to the basics.
Thank you. We'll have Jean de la Paz, right?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Tonight I wanted to kind of let you know a little bit about Autism Speaks and a little bit about what we do, and just to kind of talk about you know, safety as well. So Autism Speaks is a nonprofit organization. We mainly focus on advocacy and research, and on the advocacy component we do several different things, including providing safety resources to families. In fact, we have a dedicated team in our family services department called the Autism Response Team. And the Autism Response Team is actually all over the United States. We have coordinators in all parts of the US, and our goal is to essentially link families, link individuals, and link organizations to resources in the community. And essentially, just to kind of talk about a little bit on the awareness component and to what Major Belcher was saying, is that I think that initially awareness and training is crucial to keeping individuals safe in the community and the autism community. And I think that definitely the training should start at the academy all the way out throughout the officer's career as well. And just to kind of also piggyback on to what Mr. Lee was saying, is that you know, part of many concerns of parents is the fact that many individuals on the spectrum have communication difficulties. They're not able to communicate, and it's not that they're necessarily being defined, it's that, you know, they don't know. You know, autism is a neurological condition, and in many cases it is associated with you know, a lot of intellectual disabilities as well. So that can make it much difficult for individuals to you know, be aware of dangers. Also, it's a spectrum disorder. So you know, you have individuals that are high functioning, as they're called, or individuals that are moderate to severe. So sometimes autism is not so easily identifiable. You know, there are individuals that they may be able to communicate and they may not seem like they are on the spectrum, but in fact they are, and they have other concerns that may not appear to be autism, but appear to be defiance, or appear to be behavioral, or appear to be substance or other mental health concerns. And it's also important to be aware of that, is that it is a spectrum condition, and it's important to be aware of that and to be aware of the common characteristics of autism as well, whether one is high functioning and one is not. You know, to kind of quote a very famous advocate in the autism community, Dr. Stephen Shore, he says that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And that's really true of, you know, autism being a spectrum condition. You know, everyone is different. So the awareness component is crucial. And to kind of just talk a little bit more about the resources, that we offer, we definitely encourage, the North Miami Police Department to take advantage of the resources that we have. We have a lot of great resources for first responders, essentially talking about autism and learning how to address that. So it's not something that's a protocol, it's just kind of general information about autism and how first responders can keep individuals safe in the community as well. In addition to that, we've got great resources for families and for parents that they can take advantage of to prevent that as well. So if you'd like, afterwards I can provide you guys with our information, and then you guys, we encourage you guys to connect with us, and we'll be happy to provide those resources for you guys as well, to address this matter. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, if you want to.
I intend to be brief, if only because so much has been said already. One, I'm going to applaud the city of North Miami, if only because they've acted so quickly. Here we are just barely a week after the incident, and we're meeting together. I know that the last press conference was had this week, and I think there were 2 last week. So the openness, and in addition, the hotline number, the openness is to be commended. One of the tenets to resolving these issues early, and one of the real frustrations of the Black community has always been this lack of transparency. You're not talking to me, you're not giving me information, you're not reaching out to me, and most importantly, you're not telling me how we're not going to have this problem again. So to the city of North Miami, I say, thank you for taking steps to address the problems. I want to broaden it just a little bit and say that this is not a Black problem, and this is not just a problem with people with autism. This has to do with something that Major Belcher said. This is about the police department understanding its role primarily as, for all intents and purposes, the customer service for the entire city. Most people have no relationship, and not to say anything wrong with it, but no relationship to Manager Spring, to the commission. But you know who they will be in contact with? You know who represents the city every day? Those officers. So we have to take seriously how those officers interact with the community. The problem has been, and I'm going to say it because no one else has, I do that from time to time, there are officers who don't want to connect with the community, but want to corral the community. They want to treat us like they're not protecting and serving, they're watching and patrolling. That's not what any people deserve. It's not what the citizens of North Miami deserve. That's not what anyone throughout the rest of Miami-Dade County deserve. So I'm gladdened to hear that there will be a concentration on community policing. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be a concentration on focusing on that customer service component, because that's really, listen, you officers have the capacity to make our day with a warning and a go safely, or ruin our day with a, okay, you have the right to remain silent. That's control that you have, and you have to remember that. Finally, I'm going to say this, the adoption of the PERF guidelines gladdens my heart as well. The 100 Black Men in South Florida, along with the Miami-Dade Black Affairs Advisory Board, the NAACP, and the Wilkie D. Ferguson Bar Association, and now the other bar associations, and growing, has put forward a plan not only for North Miami to adopt the PERF standards, but to Madam Bastien's point, that all 29 police agencies in Miami-Dade County, to start, because we ain't finished, but to start, would also adopt those, because she's right. There are times when you guys work in conjunction with other agencies, so while you have protocols in place, those other agencies don't, your officers are in danger, the community is in danger, so we're going to continue the fight beyond this step, but thank you for making this step. One last thing, I know I'm over 4 minutes. I'd like to see true outreach, real outreach to our teens, high schoolers, and college students. You do that by actively recruiting our teens, high school, and college students to participating and understanding the role of policing as a career, because I've said it repeatedly, I don't know where else a 20 or 21-year-old person can make as much money as quickly with full benefits, tuition reimbursement, a car, company car, and do service to the community than policing. But I do know that there's about a 10% unemployment rate in the black community, and I'm not seeing any of our agencies, not just your agency, but any of our agencies recruiting in the black community. I know for a fact Florida Memorial has, and thank you, Councilman Galvin, for writing that down, please. Okay, good. I know Florida Memorial has a criminal justice program. I know they graduate criminal justice majors every year. And I know when I talked to Dr. Rosalind Artis and told her, hey, look, we'd like to have a law enforcement job fair, she said, great, my school doesn't have one. So to that end, I want to encourage, and I expect and am gladdened by the fact that we'll be there, North Miami will be there, so we can actually take this outreach in a real way out into the community.
Thank you.
I must go because I have.
We are taping it, and it will be rebroadcast on our channel, so we can make it. Absolutely.
Because I want to hear what all of
Mr. Jones, you got 4 minutes.
Do it less than that. My name is Leroy Jones, and I'm the lead organizer for the Circle of Brotherhood. I'm going to be brief. A couple of things I want to mention is that I know we're talking about mental illness, but it seems like we're just talking about autism. We're not talking about schizophrenia. So it's other forms of mental illness. So I'm hoping that whatever training as it relates to mental illness, it covers all realms of mental illness, okay? So that's one thing. The second thing is that the training should be every 6 months, not once a year, not once every 5 years, but if they can have some standard training every 6 months, I think that will be great for the department. How many officers the city of North Miami have right now that live in the city of North Miami? And how many officers that's going to get ready to retire or leave the police force? I'm hoping that the recruitment will start with officers, with people who live in the city of North Miami. Because if you live there, you tend to care more about the people in the community, okay? So maybe that should be a plus, you know, if you want to apply for a job as a police officer in the city of North Miami, that you get a special point of benefit if you live here. The body cameras. Can we do all the body cameras for all the officers at one time instead of doing 5 now, 10 next year? Can we make sure all the officers be equipped with body cameras the same day, the same time?
Let me be clear on that. They will get them all at the same time. Very clear.
Okay. When Chief Timothy was the chief of the city of Miami police officer, the 2 years he was the chief, he made a mandate that not an officer better not fire a weapon or they're going to have to answer to him. So it's my understanding that every day that was drilled in those officers' head, that every morning in roll call that they heard that no weapon should be fired. And if any weapon is fired, regardless of the circumstances, they're going to have to deal with him. And for 2 years, not one bullet was fired in the city of Miami Police under his direction. Right? So, Chief, make that a mandate and make that a part of the roll call. If you fire a gun, you're going to have to answer to me.
Leroy,
Yes, sir.
as you know, I was appointed, I was the first Haitian born in the staff of John
Chief
Timothy.
Timothy, that's right.
I was part of the implementation. I can tell you, he was following about 18 police shootings within a year prior of him taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 years, you're right, not even one shot was fired within the city of Miami. Thank you for reminding me.
Impunity.
when Chief Fareed was the chief judge, he convened this panel, and I was one of 6 people in the whole county that was a part of this panel. And he couldn't make the judges attend, but he requested that they consider attending a session where we got the opportunity to tell the judges how we felt they was conducting business in their courtrooms. And can you imagine, I was once being judged by judges, and now I was given a position where I can judge judges how that make me feel. So why I'm saying that, at some point, I think it'd be great if the police department can just listen to the community, but not always, see, it ain't always good for you to have to say something. It's humility when you can listen and take it in. So I think that was great when the chief judge did that, is because we got the opportunity to visit the courtrooms and give our input to the judges. And some days when I wasn't that busy, I used to go to the courthouse just to sit in there to see if they listened to what I said. And you can tell when they immediately see me in the courtroom, everything changed. It changed. The way they act against the people, it changed. So just consider conducting some community meetings where you allow the community to just vent and tell you how they feel and take it in, you know, and not trying to think that always you have to defend yourself because of a comment somebody made, okay? So those are my closing comments. I want to thank you again. I think this goals paper that you started is great to start with. So we got something that we can use to build on. So I want to thank you all. I know Larry, you the chief, and the city attorney, it's like y'all just getting in here, y'all just getting into this process, so we can imagine what y'all going through, you know. So, but I just want to say that I'm honored to be a part of this, and anything that I can bring to the table, and trust me, I'm gonna have a lot more to say after this, you know, because that's how I am. I'm a thinker and I'm a talker and a doer, right? So I just want to thank you for this opportunity.
Brother Bilal.
Peace and blessings, family. Brother Bilal Muhammad, founding member, public relations specialist for the Circle of Brotherhood. And are you all sure you want me on this this council? I say that in jest, but I too first want to say, like my brother Luther, definitely respect the time of every individual who is here, but I also respect the time that we spend in the parks working with our young people and doing the work that we do. And so I had to do a Superman number to get here, but it's definitely worth it. But I want you all to know I respect your time. And I will go back and listen to everything that was said by everyone. 3 points. I hope we all understand the powder keg that we're sitting on. And I hope we all understand the lives that loom to be lost if we don't do the right thing in our coming together. See, because I'll be quite honest, a lot of the proposals and a lot of the recommendations and the things that are taking place, they're actually standard operating procedure when these particular things go down in our community, and unfortunately they go down a lot. There's one caveat that I think is very, very different, and I have to give deference to you, Brother Larry Spring, because what's usually missing in the process is the integrity involved in making sure that the eyes of the community are matching the eyes of those who are doing. And as I'm looking around and I'm seeing who's here, there's some pretty good eyes up here. And they're eyes that are not going to be beholden to a political structure either. They're eyes that are going to be beholden to the hearts and the minds and the well-being of our people. So, in terms of the police training, we run around and we talk about police training, we talk about mental illness, when the actual mental illness that has caused us to be in this situation over and over and over again is the mental illness of white supremacy and black inferiority. And we have to understand that at the crux of fear of individuals who are unarmed to being dangerous, that there's a root of it that goes deeper than training. And so that psychosis, it should be a part of that. Don't be afraid to address it and run from it. Now, in terms of the powder keg that we're sitting on, we have an opportunity to show the whole world what happens when sincere individuals who are in seats of power come together with sincere individuals who hold the best interest in the minds of our community. So we got to get that right. I'll be very honest, and I'll close with this in terms of a pessimistic side. You know, I've been on this planet for nearly half a century in a couple days now, and in the half a century I've been on this planet, I've never seen the system give justice to the killing of a black man by law officials or authorities. I haven't seen it. In any of the states that I've lived in any of the countries that I've visited, I haven't seen it. I just want to be clear with that. And so I mention that because the community is on edge for a particular reason, and this time right now is very, very dangerous, which is why I believe God placed you in that seat, brother. I know somebody wants to take credit for your resume and hire you and so forth, but those of us who are involved in this situation right now, this is a God thing right now. And the eyes of the world are looking to see if we get it right by God, because if we don't, there's going to be more bloodshed. And that's just the reality of it. People talk about senseless killings. There's nothing senseless about the killings that are taking place right now. If you look at the scheme of the psychology and the sociology of things, this is what's going to happen if we continue to live like this. So I hope this is going to be different. In terms of optimism, I've had some wonderful working relationships with grassroots organizations and with police officials and organizations that have made some serious differences in reducing crime and violence in our community. And those things can work, but we got to be the ones to be willing to take this a step further. This is not going to be no smooth and no song and no dance game. But I applaud you for calling us together to serve the community, and I'm going to do right by the community. So, community, I understand. If they get it wrong, we're going to let you know they get it wrong. And I also want to say this, for the first time, and I've done organizing in a lot of different areas and ways, the grassroots organizations have reached out to the Circle of Brotherhood. They're actually willing to follow our lead. And I think that's commendable, because one of our problems, family, to be quite clear, is our own unity. Somebody said I misspoke something there. It's our own unity. And so we got an opportunity to get that right as well. So I'm honored to be a part of this process, and it's going to be real. But remember that the eyes of the world are on us. And if we can get this right, I believe a whole lot of lives can be saved. But again, let's see what happens.
Thank you. Ms. Boone.
Brother Bilal is a little difficult to follow, to say the least. However, I'm very proud to be a part of this organization, this council, and it's Retha Boone Phi, FYE. I know, they forgot to put it on here, always does. I just like to say and reiterate what Brother Bilal said, and that is that a few days after the shooting in Dallas, I went to talk to one of the gentlemen in our office, Military Affairs Advisory Board, Gus. He's a former police officer, Gus Cruz. And he said, "Do you realize what happened?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, these police officers have been shot, right about now. My buddies who police officers who are former or current are saying to me that there's a heightened sense of alert. There are going to be some repercussions for this." And he said, 5 people got killed. I said, "Gus, I have 4 words for you. How does it feel?" We've seen a lot of black men killed through the years, and it's very difficult for us to see that. It is extremely difficult in the state of Florida, and I've heard a police chief say this, to fire a bad police officer. It is more difficult to fire a bad police officer than any other position within either law enforcement or corrections. It's extremely difficult to fire them. So a lot of them operate with impunity, that they realize that, yes, I'll do this and I'll get away with it. So that's one of the barriers that you're going to have to try to overcome internally as well as externally with organizations and people such as the people around this room. The second thing I want to mention is the body cameras. I think that's commendable, but you also have to realize that there have to be rules and regulations concerning video footage, the filing of the video, where you keep it, who's authorized to view it. So there are several components of that, and I suggested you talk to Chief Oates from the city of Miami Beach, since they are already in the process of doing that, to see just what happens. Because you would have someone come to you and say, I'd like to see that footage. Are they authorized to see it? Will it have an impact on whether or not there's gonna be criminal, foul charge? Whatever. The third thing I wanna say is, I would encourage the organization to also upgrade the qualifications to become a police officer. Like Steve said, someone who's coming out of school can become a police officer. If the requirements are such that they have to either have an associate's or a bachelor's degree, some type of training, they have to go some psychological training, and not just be able to walk in off the street to do that. I'm sure there are requirements, but those are the things that you need to think about as well. The last thing I'd like to say is the investigation of the outcome of this particular shooting must be transparent. And it is important to keep the public, involved in it, so that no one gets to say, we don't know what happened. We want to make sure that that whole process, to the best of your ability, because we realize where it's going and who has to investigate it, okay? But you be transparent with what you do. Because as Brother Bilal says, it's very, very critical right about now, because a lot of the brothers are like, hey, what do I have to lose? If I shoot a police officer, I know I'm dead, but I'm dead anyway. And that's an unfortunate feeling. And like Marlene said, we're afraid for our boys. We're afraid for our men. And that's something that we really need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathaniel Wilcox. I'm the executive director of Pulse. People United League Struggle for Equality. I've been a part of the Pulse organization for 25 years. And first of all, I'd like to thank the chief and those powers that be that has given us the opportunity to be a part of this community council. And I'd like to start off by saying that we as an organization, we are not anti-police. We believe in supporting our police officers. We have some very fine police officers, be it here in North Miami or county or otherwise. Howbeit that you do have some officers that are not good police officers. Well, howbeit we have police officers that are brothers, sisters, are part of our churches, parishioners, things of this nature, people who we love and have a great deal of confidence in. Howbeit that they will also share with us some of the inner workings of the police department. They will share with us how the bad officers constantly get away with doing wrong. And if you have this blue code of silence within the department that backs up officers who are doing wrong, committing crimes, and getting away with it, how can you tell me, even though you may be having all of these different programs put in place, crisis intervention teams, police executive research forums, reducing the police use of force, you're trying to build trust and legitimacy when we know that officers will get away with doing some things that are wrong. The thing that really smacked me real hard about this situation is that North Miami is the last place I expected this to happen. I mean, it's the last place. And then the situation happened in the broad, open daylight. It wasn't at night behind a tree somewhere in the dark, the guys were hiding and this type of thing. It happened in the broad, open daylight. A man that's supposed to have been a SWAT trained officer, they're supposed to be highly trained. It's not some guy you pick up off the street, train him a couple of days and he's on the force. You talk about a highly trained police officer. And I think that this guy, he violated the public trust. He should be fired. He should be taken off the force along with his commander. Because once again, you're rolling back into that, oh, we cover our own. We've got to, make sure that this guy is covered. And then you have the idiocracy of John Rivera making crazy statements about, oh, we were trying to shoot the guy with autism. What? Then, well, what you talk about a person with autism today. What about a person that's an alcoholic? Then tomorrow, what about a person you may encounter that have a bad day? What about a person with a hearing disorder? Or what about a person with low IQ? Will they also be facing an officer's bullet on any given day? So we recognize that the chain of command, there was something really messed up with you guys' chain of command, that officers could come on the scene and then it just, you don't know what's going on. So I think you guys really need to look at your chain of command. You get a bunch of officers on the scene, they don't know what's going on. They can't see when they have scopes on their rifles. They should have been able to see that this guy does not have a gun or weapon in their possession. We also feel that this is a systemic problem that's countrywide, not just here in North Miami, but we're glad that you guys are trying to take the proper steps to remedy this situation. We have no confidence in the FDLE. There were shootings that happened in Miami last year. Nothing from the FDLE. Other places in Dade County, nothing from the FDLE. State Attorney's Office, no confidence in her. Absolutely none. Okay, there's been some situation I feel that she should have been arrested. So the blue code of silence, you guys have to break that. I don't care how many athletic leagues you set up and the feel good stuff, till you guys get down to the nitty gritty, brass knuck, cleaning house, doing the things that will make officers, make the public feel that the officers could be trustworthy. You're gonna have the same old thing. And I'm black, I've been black for 62 years, and I'm afraid. I am afraid to go out on the streets in some places, but I hope that the situation will be remedied here in North Miami.
Thank you, sir. Mr. LaFontaine.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me in this dialogue. The problem that we are facing now, these have been what you call accumulations of bad policy and bad politics that has been happening for the past 20 to 30 years. I recall very much when the state of Florida emboldened the laws in order to protect police officers and sit attorneys' offices. There is something wrong in our system when young black men know very well that the system is rigged against them. There is something wrong when the state attorney office for the past 30 or 50 years has been unable to find one case, just one case, where she could indict a police officer or a bad police officer. And also those comments that I'm sitting here, they are not addressed to the people, the legitimate officers who go and do the job respectfully. I'm talking about those bad cops. Those people who think that they have a 007 license as the badge, then they can kill at any time with no question asked. This is wrong. When our youths are going and knowing very well that there are all kind of laws established to rid them of the youths, when black men know very much that any encounter with the police officers can be the last one, there is something wrong. We know that it's like the police institutions is like a big boat, like a large boat in the middle of the sea. To change direction, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be sacrifice. It's going to be tough decision. Here tonight, we have an opportunity to start to make those changes so that the culture of us against them is part of the past. It is that culture of division, us against them. They are civilian, and we hold our 007 license. We do what we want to do. It's going to be a lot of sacrifice, and I'm talking about the need to change, to modify the rules of the game, the rule of engagement. I know that Mr. Campbell just mentioned the case of McDuffie. I was here too, Mr. Campbell. I experienced those nights, those sleepless nights, when Miami was on fire. We can do better. We can do better. We have an opportunity, it's up to us to seize it, and with the leadership of Mr. Springs, the leadership with the Chief Eugene and other people, with the council, we can send strong messages to the nation that the city of North Miami is working to get it right as a goal. We can do it. And my presence here is just a way to tell you that I'm on board with the program. If it is to advise and change rules, change the laws, change the game, we need to change the game. So our youths cannot feel that the system is rigged against them. When you are growing up, you know that the system is rigged against you. Nobody wants to live in this kind of situation. That's the reason that you see that those rogue young men take the law in their own hands. And when that happens, everybody loses. The white establishment and the black establishment. We become the same boat. That same boat, we are all in it. We can all agree to live together on that boat, or we can all agree to perish together on that boat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pastor Timothy Forbes. I'm the first Vice President of Pulse, People United to lead the struggle for equality. You know, I'm the last one to speak, so they say the best to last. Well, I've heard all of these comments and all of these remarks, and frankly, I agree with all of them. But I want to state some things that, or just restate, because everything I say now would be basically heard already, but I'm just going to kind of repeat it and reiterate it. I'm a black man, as you can see, and I've been trained by way of the United States Army how to preserve life and how to take life. I must say that when I was doing that type of training, you get to a point where your training you become so confident with it, you're not afraid to take life, or in my case being a combat medic, to preserve life. When I came back home and I see the condition that the city that I grew up in, it made me afraid. To know that the powers to be, the men in blue, have power with no check or balance. That causes fear. Fear is the divide that has taken hold of this nation when it comes down to our policing of our citizens. Now, I must commend, like everyone else did in here, the new chief. I just met him a week, exactly 6 days before this terrible incident occurred. Myself and the director, we went to his office to speak to him. We met with Chief Belcher, Timothy Belcher, and they welcomed us in, and we went to all the police departments actually, and North Miami was the only police department that said, hey, come on in, come up and let's have a talk. And we came up there and we talked with him, and the things that we're talking about now, this is how I know this is not made up. So I commend you, Chief. This is not something that's made up. We were talking about this a week before, exactly 6 days before this occurred. And the reason why we were there was about the verdict that we're looking to come down on the two recent killings, police-involved killings that took place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the other, I believe, in Minnesota. The this powder cake that Brother Muhammad spoke about. It's real. And that's why we were in your office, because we foresaw, and Pulse is a grassroots organization. We get the phone calls where people call in and say, I'm gonna go off me some police officers. I mean, it was that real. We were in the city of Miami. Chief of police office, we reported this incident. And they followed up on it when, at first they didn't follow up on it. They were just like, well, okay, we'll just fill out this report and we'll follow up on it. And before the day's end, they got that phone call saying that the next 911 call is going to be a host. When you show up, we're going to blow you all away. Next thing you know, his phone and my phone ringing off the hook. What was that number you had that they said they called you from? We need to check that out. We cannot have reaction all the time. We got to be prepared so that we can respond. Because a lot of times when you react, you look back and you say, oh man, I could have did a better job. And that is what has happened here in the city of Miami, North Miami. When we were in Chief's office and we were talking about these things that we're talking about now, we wanted to see all of the things that we're discussing. And we believe that they are going to happen. I have no doubt in that. I'm very confident in that they're going to happen. But the confidence where there's a divide with the people and law enforcement has to be bridged. The PAL programs and the outreach and everything, that is good. But the only way that this is going to happen, and the first speaker spoke on it, was impunity. Chief, you got to clean house. I know it's a tall order just getting on deck, but you have to clean house. And the best way to clean house, and I'm speaking as an ex-soldier from the United States Army, you got to make some examples. I know that's not totally up to you and in your power, but examples have to be made, because that's why the people feel the way they do. Y'all get away with everything. That's what they say. And we know that there's problems there, but until those problems are addressed in-house, we can do all what we're talking about doing, sing Kumbaya and bring the churches together. And my goodness, I've been to so many forums. I'm forumed out. It's time for a response that is going to be proactive as well as reactive. We cannot sit down on this anymore. And I don't feel that you are, Chief. I have to say that, because the reason why I can say that, it's not like I've been knowing you as many years as everybody's in here. Because we were talking about this a week before this happened. We came to your office. You laid it out. We stayed there an hour and a half. So I know it's not made up. And to the community, and to you, Chief, and to the world, this is an opportunity. And we talked about that. When I told you, I said, we see City of North Miami, as a potential model for other law enforcement agencies to follow. And then I could just imagine what your face looked like when you saw that incident take place. Your heart probably just dropped and said, oh my God. And we were just in there. When I called you, you said, Pastor Forbes, you and Nathaniel, I need you. I need you to be out there. We need to get something going here so we can get this thing resolved. And here we are, very quickly. Let's keep doing it that way. City Manager, Mr. City Manager, my first time meeting you, and I know this is, least to say stressful, because you just got on deck too. You have a tall order. The Chief is going to need your help in cleaning house. Stated the attorney, we're going to need your help in cleaning house. These Pulse's, I'm going to just read this real quick and I'm going to stop. Because Pulse's position on North Miami shootings is that Officer Jonathan Leda and Commander Emil Holland be fired from the police force effective immediately. Not put on administrative leave. And this happens all the time. Go home, get paid while you're at home, and watch on TV 24 hours a day, you're mistaken. We need something more than that. I know it's a part of the process. I know it's the SOP. But we cannot bring these problematic officers back to the force because therein lies destruction and that powder cake, going poof. Something has to be done. Thank you.
Mr. Manager, can I say something right quick? So I'm looking at this
I'm gonna,
report. I want to make sure.
30 seconds, 30 seconds. I gotta
So-
respect everybody's time tonight.
So this report, in the last 5 years, it's been 140 shootings. 78 ended in death. Not one officer been charged, been locked up. State Attorney's Office. So the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, all they're gonna do is issue a new report of what their findings is, give it to the State Attorney's Office. And it's gonna be up to the State Attorney's Office to make an arrest. I'm telling you, in the last 5 years, 78 people killed by law enforcement, not one arrest. So what make us think she's gonna
Do anything good?
it's crazy, man. It's like,
So what I'll do, and I'm gonna close the meeting, but I'm gonna make a couple comments to kind of address that. That's the purpose of convening this. In our discussions with the representatives of the FDLE, what they've said is they've investigated, like you said, they investigated the predominance of the shootings throughout the state of Florida. Typically, it's not about what happens to the one officer. It's not what happens in civil litigation with the victim. It's what does the city and the agency do to change the framework, the culture, to move the thing forward permanently so it doesn't happen again, or you safeguard against it happening again. As the city manager, working for my council, my mayor, my council, that is the advice that I'm giving them, that we need to work with the chief and allow them the space, the time, the opportunity to make the policy changes, the cultural changes, the systematic changes that will help us prevent this, these situations from happening moving forward. I take this charge very seriously. That's why I called people that I knew. I've known most of you for years, at least a decade, most of you. So that's why I called you, because I know every one of you in the past, whether you like me or not, whether I was on the good side of the issue or not, we were able to have dialogue, you held me accountable, and you gave me the opportunity to at least respond and do what I needed to do. So with that, myself and my staff will be taking this back with the chief. Hopefully in the next day or two, we'll be issuing a more formal, synthesized version of this to the public. And again, thank you. Thank you. Yes, the next one we'll work with you in your calendars to see. I think for right now, as we move through this 90-day period, we'll probably be meeting more frequently and need your advice more frequently. For everyone, feel free to, we'll email, call. Leroy will tell you, I think I talk to him every day. Every morning and every evening, I think I talk to him. So we want to have that kind of open dialogue with everybody. So with that, thank you all for coming, and let's make sure we do the right thing. All right. Councilman?